Yes, hello guys, welcome to another video today. Today we are going to be talking about how to pass the FIFA Agent exam step by step. As you can see, this is a new video today. I hope you guys are all doing well. I got some requests on how to pass the FIFA Agent exam that I should do this video again. So yeah, my today again honoring your request from the few messages I've gotten from my inbox, trying to also give you guys some tips on how to go through this process one more time. But as I said, also, if you are trying to familiarize yourself in writing the exam, you can always check also past videos. But anyways, I'm here and we're going to talk about this. Then we're going to look at some past questions. Then yes, each day the exam approaches, and it's always to be here so that we can talk about it and see how it goes. And before I dive into the video a little bit, the thing with this exam is a lot of people write the exam and a lot of people fail. So I remember having a conversation with my friend about this, that sometimes I feel like, okay, was it the right timing for me to do it or what to pass or whatsoever? But anyways, not about you have to prepare for the exam, because I did prepare for the exam. But just to make a few points here, I wrote the exam with lots of friends, but none of them are writing again because they got discouraged after writing so many times without passing. And do you know what? Sometimes you get a message from another friend saying that, okay, can I give you a call? Can I give you players whatsoever so that you can put them into your agency? And the thing is not that you want to even refuse from getting players from the people, but you say there's a structure behind this. If I'm speaking to sporting directors, they request a certain kind of players from me. I cannot just take any player and just try to offer it. Okay, but anyways, let's go straight into it and let me give you what you're here for based on the topic. So the thing is, I had to give you a little bit that so that you understand how critical the license is, because when you don't have the license, it's very difficult for you to work as an agent. So okay, but anyways, let's go straight into the topic: how to become a FIFA agent, step by step guides. So first, you have to understand this: a football agent. How does a football agent operate? Okay, you have to just understand that generally. So this is not ghetto business or any kind of business. This is real. This is professionalism. This is everything. So you have to be on it to be able to make a living out of it. So first, to become a football agent, you have to learn how to pass the exam. That's the first thing. Okay, there's not. You have to learn how to read and pass the exam before you have to become an agent. Yes. So you have to study the you have to study the FIFA football agent regulation. You have to study the RSTP. You have to study the disciplinary code. Yeah, that's just it. You have to work hard to pass the exam. And when you pass the exam, then before you're going to understand how it is to become an agent. So these are just the things I can tell you. I cannot be in your shoes now. I was once in your shoes trying to write the exam. Yeah, I did spend sleepless night trying to read. But my idea is that the thing is that I knew, because I was in a situation of being trying to be a coach, because I coach people and being an agent. Of course, it's my business. I do coaching and so on. But I didn't want to work for a club as a coach. I never wanted to do that. I've got multiple contracts to work for clubs as due to my experience, but I never ever really felt that I will be putting my time to be a coach. That was my idea. So to be an agent was like the best thing that I could dream of after playing. But the thing that I always saw for myself was, one, to be an agent, because I traveled to some European countries, Norway, Denmark, and others. So I felt that, oh, this is a lucrative job because I've been doing the travel. Then I can feel that, okay, what an amazing career this can be if you get this right, just to walk and sit on the stadium or go scout players, position them somewhere, because that's it. The main thing is go scout players, position them somewhere, and then make a living out of it. Then you get on top of it, or you get to travel out of it. Just being an agent, I went to a city in Denmark called, because I went to Copenhagen to have a meeting with a sporting director, for example. This is a little bit out of topic, but of course we're going to come back in the topic. I'm just trying to give you also part of my experience that I have just had due to 2 years of being an agent, close to 2 years of being an agent. I went to Copenhagen to have a meeting with the sporting director. Then I had to also move to another city they call Aarhus just to have a meeting with a team there also who plays there. But just seeing the oh, is it Aarhus? I've never been into that city. Never. I've never thought of that city. But just because I went there due to being an agent, I saw that oh, there's more to life than just sitting in one place doing things. Let me say, working for someone. I started to see my eyes started to open. I said, "Oh my God, this job, this is something." Because by that time, I sat at the back of, I was inside how they board. It's like an Uber taxi, and I was just behind preparing my notes for my interview and all those kind of stuff. Just preparing. You know, when you go to speak to sporting director and CEOs, the main thing is you have to be spot on so that at least you get called up multiple times, or so that the people can see you as someone who knows what he's doing. Then they call you for to do deals with. So at the back of my car, I was just there preparing my notes, preparing how I'm going to interview the sporting director. Then next go to the CEO. Then just out of a sudden, it just hit me. I said, "Oh my God, what a job! If you get this kind of thing right, this kind of job right, this is a special kind of job because you get to travel to a lot of cities in the world. No one tells you this, but when you are into the job, it is really, really amazing. You get to travel into different cities in the world, speak to professionals, scout players. If they believe in you, you put them in your agency. Then you take them and go and offer them and sell them. While they're playing, you get commission. So your job is just to travel around and do this. So it's about your brain. So I felt a little bit like, oh my God, this is a privilege to be in this kind of job. When I went to Aarhus in Denmark, then I went to Copenhagen. I went to Copenhagen to speak to some club, Brøndby. I don't know. Brøndby was another one. So a lot of these clubs, but the idea is anyone coming across this video that you are trying to be an agent, please focus and write this exam because it is very, very it's enjoyable once you get the license. Believe me. I didn't like I for once I was someone that say I don't know why people do travel a lot. I prefer to just sit around, do stuff. But because of having an agent license, it put me into it. I started feeling like, because I didn't travel a lot, of course, I live in Europe, but most of the time I didn't travel a lot. It was almost like, okay, play football, stay with family, play football, do your things around the area. So that sense kicked in when I went to Denmark. Another place also I moved there when I went to Oslo, that's in Norway. When I traveled to Oslo to interview the CEO of Baleranga Football Club, and when I arrived, also the hospitality and the treatment, everything, just being there, knowing that this guy is an agent, is a professional, because the people you go to interview already know that, okay, if they have gone to interview, know that they are expecting that at the back of their mind, they are saying, oh, if this guy gives us some good vibe. Let me say, if he's well connected, then we might well as well take some players from him from Africa or whatsoever where he is connected. So for a CEO or a sporting director to accept interview, they don't just those people are very busy. So for them to accept you to come and interview them, like how they did with me, it shows they are always thinking like, okay, if this guy has some connection, we can tap into his connection. So from there, I started feeling the sense like, being an agent is something that many people don't speak about, but it's a really, really lucrative job. It's one of those jobs that when you get it right, you become, let me say, one of the most happiest person in the world. Think of it, you travel because you are not actually playing football. You just travel, scout people, use your eyes, use your brain. And then the next time you're trying to bring those players to your club, I mean, to your agency, and then take those players and start talking to them, to clubs, various sporting directors. And when they accept deal, bam, your job is done. The players go, you go with the player, you sign, you show the shirt off, show the shirt, and while the player is playing, your commissioning is entering. So you see, those are the things that you look at and say, oh my God, this is hell of a job. So my advice first before continuing what I'm saying is, please, anyone writing the exam, take it serious because this is going to change your career. This is a massive opportunity. If you're trying to be an agent, make use of this time because we don't know how this is. We don't know people writing. Let's, as I give an example, my friends that I was writing with them, At one point in time, I said, no, I have to focus and read hard, study the materials enough to pass this exam. And behold, I passed. When I remember the day I passed, when I looked at it, I said, okay, this is my name. It was the most joyful day because you feel like, okay, now finally I'm a professional. I can knock at the doors of sporting directors and talk to them. I'm an agent. They don't see me like someone who is just like a runner, someone doing runs, if you understand what I'm saying. Okay, hello from Canada again. So, how are you doing? I hope you're doing great. And I think, were you the one who's waiting for your registration? I mean, for the FIFA license, for the update of your registration? I think so, probably, if I'm not mistaken. So, guys, yeah, so that's the thing. So, just try to focus a lot. It's going to help you. It's going to help you a lot. Yeah. I say, many players did you sign in your first year? How many players did you have now, roughly, like the range? Okay, the first in my first year, because now I'm almost close to 2 years. In my first year, I signed 4 players, but mostly many people don't always sign players in the first year. Yes, they learn the trade, but with me, because I had the access, because on Instagram I have 130K followers on Instagram, so most people I speak to them. Let me say that I always coach. I used to coach, so I have a business that I coach people, then I get paid. That's my personal business. So most of the players I coach, or the ones I see I feel I can sell them, they come with they come to my agency. So, but of course, the ones I don't want to, not that, that's a harsh word to say, I don't want to work with them. The ones I feel I cannot make, we cannot really work together, I can propose them to someone. I can say, okay, there's a player here. Yeah. So it works like that. So officially 4 in my first year, but I had to do this with a lot of people. That's sending people, referring people. But what I always look for in a player, let's take for example, I always look like the potential, the mentality, and also the discipline to work hard. So with those kind of players, what I do with my players is I offer consultancy, guides, because I know this person has the potential to probably go all the way to play like in Spain, mm, England, and whatsoever. So, but the idea is, let's take for example, I live in Finland. I try to do a lot of network in Scandinavia, like Norway, and a lot of other countries. So, what I do is I try to connect with sporting directors, academic directors in Norway. And then, if I see a player here, let's take for example, due to my connection there, the player goes to Norway, because the Norwegian market now actually is like one of the best in Scandinavia. They have good, yes, they are actually good at their training level is quite high. So from Norway there, then I can, let's say, move to another country. It might be Belgium or listen, but the idea is you go to Norway first or another country. It might be different, but I'm just saying where I have the connection. So I also moved, I went to Denmark to also speak to Copenhagen and other places. But my personal opinion, I like Norway. I like Norway. But yes, that's to answer your question for. But most people, it's not about rushing to sign players. You are going to meet, because when you have the license, one thing I will say is I could just go to my link, my Instagram, let's take for example, and I can sign like 20 players. But the thing is that at those 20, do you really believe those 20 players are going to make it pro? So it has to be something within you, telling yourself that, can I really help this person making it pro? Like for example, you can imagine I have 130K followers on Instagram. You can imagine that maybe a day, there's no day passes that I have like more than 10 people sending me their videos and all those kind of things that, hey, I'm a good player, check me, check this stuff. But you screen those people. I also screen those people, because it's not everybody wants to work when you're an agent, because you are trying to have a certain standard. So sometimes when someone send a message, I just click at the video and see a little bit and off, because I say, okay, this video is not even the standard. I forgot about that person. And then, because you have a lot going on, you don't come back to that person again. So that's how hectic it is. So not to go a little bit into my private side, but I'm also trying to give you people a little bit of insight of how the agency work. So that's one thing that the agency is quite, if you are, let's say, already at a certain level trying to do deals, you're always going to be hectic. I mean, a little bit busy. And so sometimes you see an agent writes a sporting director and the person don't reply. Guys, listen, I've interviewed a lot of sporting directors, and most of the time they won't reply till they trust you or they believe in you. I can say that because when I remember, just this is a short story. I went to Norway to interview the CEO of Valeranga. We had this appointment. We had to an appointment 11 o'clock Norwegian time. I sat in the lobby. CEO had everyone. Most of the time they have board meetings because when you're a club who runs millions, CEO is there, sporting director is there, head of communication is there. They are all sitting in the board meeting and they are just like everyone is talking. They're having a board meeting on how things are being run. So when you write these people, they don't actually reply. It's because they are also having a hectic schedule on the program. They are also trying to catch up because in the business world, when money is involved, you don't want to make mistake because if they see you making mistake, then you're out of the door because you're out of the door because they don't want to mess up. And in certain clubs, let me say when you are signing players for millions, when you start making mistake recover that mistake costs a lot. So that's why there's always very strict. And let me say, when they want to work on an agent, there's a little bit of discipline to know, does the agent know what he's doing? How uh, is he good? Because we don't want to take a player from him with risk, then we end up losing money from that. So you see, there's a lot of calculated risk involved in it. That when I started, I know this because I knew this only when I started going inside to interview people, sit on the table, talk with the CEO, we have some chat, go watch games, have a conversation with the coaches, just those kind of basic things. Then you start to tap into their brain and say, this is what it takes to work with these people. Actually, they don't actually reply to agent messages, not because the agents are they hate replying, but it's because also there's huge money involved. And if you make a mistake, you the sporting director or the scout, you might be in trouble. Your job is also on the line. Okay, let's see. Registered waiting for the exam. Okay, you registered, you are waiting for the exam. Paperwork to sign above 18. Platform do you use to meet sporting directors? What platform do you use to meet sporting director? That's a good question. What I used to meet sporting directors, it's not a platform. There are no platforms. So there are a lot of clubs. So let's give an example. The first way I started meeting sporting directors is I had to knock on the door of sporting directors first in Finland, in Finland, yeah. So because I did a little bit of networking, I had to start visiting sporting directors in Finland. And when I visited sporting directors in Finland, then I started getting to know how to approach these people. So then, out of a sudden, I started going to Norway. I went to Norway to when I wrote the sporting directors and CEOs of the Norwegian football club, and of course, when they accepted, then before I have to travel, you don't just travel, you don't just leave and travel. You have to actually like talk. You have to like book an appointment with them because they are busy people before you can actually go there. So this was how it happened. Okay, I hope I answered your question, but if there's any question, you can always, if there's any question, you can leave it to me again. But that was just a little bit of story just to let you know that you are at the best stage of your life. If you get an agent license, it shows you it. People respect. Not I don't want to say people respect you. That's too far. But at least you have a certain point to tell someone that you're a professional in this field. Okay, so it's worth doing that. Okay, but let's move again a little bit forward about step-by-step guide to write the FIFA agent exam. So now we talk of the next step. We're talking of eligibility requirement. So under the FIFA regulation of the 2026 year, you have you must be at least 18 years old. you have no criminal record or related to have no criminal record, not never been an ex-convict, or never been a criminal respected to financial crimes, no money laundering, all these kind of things, because you are managing people, so you will not have anything in the past to do with that. If not, your registration will be cancelled or will not be accepted. Not been banned for football. You have not also been banned for football. You have not been gambling for 1 year. Not have conflict of interest with any kind of football related kind of things. You have not been an agent doing it without a license, and then you have been reported. So if people want to check all this, you can check always FIFA, Article 5 of the FIFA Football Agent Regulation on the FIFA on the study materials. You can go through that. So that's where you can also find all this information. But apart from that, these are the things you don't need to do. Okay. So that's step 2, I think is clear. Step 3, register on the FIFA Agent Platform. That I think most of you people, if you're watching this video, probably have done that, and the registration will be expired. It will be done. It will be closed in March. I think most of people know that. So for people who haven't yet registered, you can still go. It's still open, but March is going to close. So you register on the platform and then wait for how to write. That's the next thing. That's just the thing that I can tell you. You register on the platform. Okay. And while registering, all these the procedures will be going, like they'll try to check and screen what's your background. They'll do a background check on you. But that one, FIFA does that initially. I mean, internally, then they'll get back to you. And when you've done that, then the next thing is now you start to prepare for the exam. Start taking the mock test on the platform and start to prepare for the exam as usual, as everyone. So when you're preparing for the exam, you know now what I've mentioned it multiple times on platform here. You know what you have to look at. RSTP, FIFA Football Agent Regulation, Tribunal. But I think I will always say the first two, look at the RSTP and FIFA Football Agent Regulation. And then before you start looking at FIFA Clearinghouse, Tribunal, Statutes, yes, all those things, disciplinary code, ethic code, you look at all these little things, then and just starting to get a picture of how the exam looks like. Because let's take, for example, if I was to write the exam today, when I'll be looking at, the first thing I'll be looking at is like, oh, do I know the RSTP as well as possible? Do I know the FIFA Football Agent, the FFAR as well as possible? Because when you know these two, then you start adding a lot into, let me say, into your studying. Then you're almost getting to know how the system there works. Because a lot of people write this exam, but if you don't know how the exam the setup of the exam, then you might be in big problem. That's one thing. So the idea I always give is try to know the setup of the exam, answer past questions, answer lengthy questions, put yourself also in a test situation, revise, read books, do a lot of things. Of course, as I said, I'm hosting a course will start in April that will be discussing all those formats and everything, but still put yourself also, familiarize yourself with the exam. You just have to read read and work hard so that after April, everything is okay. So that's the thing with the exam. So you have to put yourself into that situation, like to grind now. So that's it for the preparation, I think. Yes. Then let's look at some past questions. So let's say I'll just run through some few past questions. Then we answer that. That's based on RSTP. We answer that. Then we jump out of this and come back tomorrow again. So yes, question 1. Let's look. Question 1. I will say, what's question? Okay, contract termination. So a professional player terminates a contract without just cause during the protected period. What are the consequences? I think I spoke about the protected period last time with you. First of all, what is a protected period? A protected period is a period in a player's career when, if you breach a contract, it has high consequences, or if a club breaches a contract, it has high consequences than any other period. And a protected period is between the age of, let's say, If you sign if you're 28 years, your protected period is 3 years. If you're above 28, your protected period is 2 years. So this period is a period where both FIFA wants stability in you and the club, because it's assumed that you are almost at your prime years and you are a little bit matured and you know what is called negotiation and other things. So you don't make silly decision at this age. Unlike, let's say, a protected period, you cannot have a protected period, for example, for someone who is like 20 years, because you're still young. There's a lot of instability, maybe you're not settling down with your spouse. There's a lot of on and off. But as I said, a protected period, as I gave you the definition, is a period where you cannot breach a contract. Or if you breach the contract, whether you're a club or a player, you have huge consequences. And these consequences might be like sanctions, fines, and everything. So let's jump now back to the question. A professional player terminates a contract without just cause. Without just cause, which means he doesn't even have the right to terminate the contract during a protected period. During a protected period, what are the consequences? A, they said no consequences. That cannot work. B, only warning. Okay. And C, sporting sanctions and financial compensation. D, automatic international clearance. So I think this is pretty clear. This is more pretty clear and basics. The answer will be C, which is sporting sanctions and financial compensation. This is under the RSTP, Article 17. Okay. So the next question here is protection of minors. Very important. That's one of the most, let me say, serious topic FIFA always looked at, because there's always like minors are always the people being trapped in child abuse and whatsoever. So FIFA is also very strict on that, because I remember there was a case for a young player who left Nigeria. I don't know if he arrived from what country. Was it Hungary or what country? And when he arrived there was someone who told him he's an agent. And then the child or the young player waited there as a minor, waited there for so long, and this person couldn't take him for trials. Then out of a sudden, due to the frustration of the player after having paid a lot of money, asking that agent, you told me you're to take me for a trial, so where's the trials here? Where's the trials? Why am I not going for trials? And that agent started harassing the child, beating him up, that he speaks too much, that he should be quiet, all these things. So this is why FIFA also look at minor, that for certain people living in different countries, they don't want minor to travel if they're not 18. So let's talk about minor. Minor. Let's look at that. So let's read protection of minors. That is okay. International transfer of a minor is A, always allowed. B, allowed if both clubs agree. C, prohibited unless specific exceptions apply. D, allowed if agent guarantees development. So what do you think the answer is? So I'm going to give you here, the answer is C, prohibited unless specific exceptions apply. So again, you can look at Article 19, which is talking about minor. What does specific exception apply? So a minor in as a minor, they always say it's prohibited for a minor to travel or to have an international transfer unless they're 18. But there are 5 exceptions that this can happen. One is the border rule. Okay. One is academic. So this exception must meet certain things. Okay, you can go to read Article 19. You'll find a lot of this. So, or you go to the RSTP. Let me say, if you go to the RSTP, you can read more about this. Just go to minor. You are going to find a lot of this. But to move ahead a little bit, so that I shouldn't go into details, the answer is prohibited unless specific exceptions apply. Question 3 is training compensation. When is training compensation payable? I think this is quite easy. These questions are quite easy for people who have been reading. Anyways, so one, training compensation. Let's say, okay, A, only after 25 years. B, when a player signs first professional contract and on transfer before the season 23rd birthday. C, when every transfer. For every transfer. D, only international transfer. So first of all, before answering this, I'll just explain what is training compensation. Training compensation applies when you sign your first professional contract or what, or your first, or you move international transfer to a club. Okay, but anyways, let me explain. I don't want to go too much into details because we are going to take in a lot of time here. So just to stick with the question and training compensation, this applies when, let's take for example, it's a payment done to clubs. To clubs who have trained a young player from the age of 12 to the age of 21 or to 23 during their last transfer. Okay, so I repeat, is between the age of a club who trains a player between the age of 12 to 21. Let's put it out. Between the if you're a club who have trained a player between the age of 12 to 21, when that player moves clubs, you're entitled to training compensation because you are partake in that or in that player's development. I want to explain it on the in the general terms, not using too much law languages so that at least you can understand what it is before you're applying it. So now to answer this question, when is training compensation payable? So the answer was B, when a player signs first professional contract and on transfer before the season of their 23rd birthday period. That's it. Question 4. Next is solidarity mechanism. Solidarity mechanism. This is solidarity mechanism also is another sense of it's another compensation. But anyways, let's continue the question. The solidarity mechanism applies when a contract expires, a professional my light has gone off. When a contract expires, okay. Next, a professional player is transferred internationally during contract. C, a youth player moves club. And D, a player retires. I still feel also these questions are quite easy because these are straightforward answer questions. We're going to do more difficult questions, but I'm just trying to warm you people up for when you watch this video. I'm just trying to warm people up because in the sense, I just want, let's ease ourselves into answering question modes. But we are going to be treating, after every video, I would like to look at some questions. We're going to be treating questions that are quite lengthy so that you can see how those questions are handled. Okay? Okay, yeah, but the answer is B. And why B? So a professional player is transferred internationally during contract. Yes, and that applies to solidarity mechanism. It's a compensation. And how is solidarity mechanism end? It's when a player moves club, 5% of the transfer fee is distributed to the clubs that train the player. Let's take for example, if you were paid, let me say if a player was transferred for 90 million, and then 5%, what is 5% of 90 million? It will be shared to all the clubs that train the player till he turned 23. So that's solidarity mechanism. That's how it goes. Okay. And question 5, burden of proof. So in a dispute regarding unpaid salary, who carries the burden of proof? Okay. So let's take, for example, there's a dispute and there's unpaid salary. Who carries the burden of proof? A, FIFA. B, the respondent. C, the claimant. And D, the Players Association. What's your answer? Do I leave this one as an assignment? No. But anyways, the answer is the claimant. Okay. I'll round up from here because I think we're already at 34. So I just wanted to let me not to go too much far. We're already at 34 minutes. But anyways, what I'm trying to do is, because the exam starts in April, this is almost close to end of February. I want to be, when I do these videos, at one point in time, I should be answering some few questions. When I'm doing that, the exam preparatory course that I'll be teaching you people, most people, the thing I'll be doing is I'll do just structure passing the exam. But yeah, I'm just trying to give highlights. Anybody who watch the video, at least you can learn something. But when I'll be doing the exam, actually, we will just look at a specific how the exam is set and how to handle it and how you pass the exam. That will be my target. So I already have the materials well set and how we target, how we can handle from FIFA status, from everything from the beginning till the end. In few, let me say, the main topics, what to touch, and how you can handle the exam pressure, the questions easily. So everything is set up, but at least when the exam opens, I mean, when the registration opens, I'm going to let you people know everyone will register. But the main thing I'm just trying to say is, yeah, we are just trying to do various touching so that at least you get an idea of how the learning is or how to study the materials, how to handle the questions. So next tomorrow, I'll stick with RSTP questions, 5 questions after the topic of tomorrow. But at least we answer 5 questions. I want to put that so that at least let some of you people be getting the knowing how to answer the question. And then me speaking here is also easy for you because I don't want to really put it into a, how can I put it? I want it to be like a conversation, something that I speak and then it enters your brain naturally. Probably when you're writing the exam, you can think that I made a reference to this. You can get even a mark or a point or 2, 3, 4, 5 just by listening to this. Because when studying is something that if you listen to someone's voice that the person is telling you something, sometimes you pick some things and say, I remember he said that. I remember he said that. I'm just going to apply this here. Yeah, because as I said, a lot of the exam also is quite common sense mixed with the uh, the study and the FIFA rules and regulation. So there are certain places you have to apply common sense. The questions are never going to come just direct like that. I remember when I was writing, Jesus Christ, the questions, I had a lot of lengthy questions. So luckily I read a lot because some questions comes that before you want to read the 3 minute mark to answer a single question is already more. So let's take for example, they say there's a player who moved from Cameroon or from Africa to Brazil and after moved to Mexico. So they take you from different places and after to Mexico. Then he returns now to Europe and sign a professional contract when he's 18. So all those movement, it doesn't even it doesn't even make any sense with the question, but they're just trying to turn your head up. And because they say he returns to Europe and sign his first professional contract when he's 18, and then they ask you just a basic question: when does the player actually signs his first professional contract? A. Then there are bits of it that they say he signed a contract in Brazil when he was 17 years. This thing. So they're just sometimes they try to mess up with your head because when you be doing the job of an agent, there are certain basic things you have to put into your brain that as an 18-year-old, you don't sign contract. Let's say, for example, you cannot sign a contract. You don't move to Europe. Let's take, for example, less than 18. But when you're having a European nationality or you live here, you can sign a contract at 16 years. So a little bit of rules that you have to know that in this part of continent it applies, but here it doesn't apply. So those are just the basic things that sometimes they give you a question. The question can be quite lengthy, but they're just trying to make you apply common sense. And some can be quite, let's say, short but very tricky. And then you need to use the book. And there's another thing with the exam that we need to talk on when we are trying to do this. When we're trying to prepare for the exam in the course, I'll be teaching how to use the book because that is also very essential. Learning how to use the book, learning how to let me say, if they ask a question, if you don't know that question offhand, how can you locate that answer within 2 to 3 minutes? Okay, so those are the bits and things that those are the things that we have to be looking at before the exam, before you sit for the exam. Okay, so that was it. Today I think we cover a little bit more time, but anyways, as long as this provide value, that's the most important thing I want. As long as I can help people like I did last year, pass exam, it's worth your time, because as I always say in life, value is the most important thing. If you can provide value to people, no matter how long is it, keep providing the value. So okay, tomorrow I'll be here trying to talk again on another topic, then try to answer most of your questions if you have questions. Then we'll finish as we finish today with some past questions and just answer. But I think the questions today were quite easy. But if you have anything about the question, you can always drop a message. I think the questions were quite easy. I'll be looking at also questions that are set in exam mode, exact how it is, lengthy question, short questions, and we finish from that. So if you're watching this video or if you watch it tomorrow, don't miss 9:30 tomorrow. We will start after our topic, then we will answer five, let's say 5 questions. I don't want to say 10, but we can answer 5 questions. That those 5 questions will be uh, we'll speak about it as we're speaking about here, so that at least you can start understanding those questions logically, not by book. What I mean by not by book, not by the rules and regulation, because the best thing about being an agent working in this agency is that if you understand the things naturally, then you're going to find a lot of things easy, because certain times you can read a question even in the exam, you just know, this is how it goes, because you understand the things naturally. Anyways, talk to you tomorrow. I don't want to leave, but I have to leave because the video is already getting too long, and then we see tomorrow. Be endeavor to be here tomorrow 9:30 finish time or Eastern European time. Take care. Bye for now. Cheers.